Don't touch that! The boy's scream stopped the billionaire's hand inches above the small silver box on the dining table. Every guest in the luxurious penthouse turned toward the 12-year-old standing near the doorway. His clothes were worn, his shoes were covered in dust, and 2 security guards were already moving toward him. But the billionaire, Daniel Cross, didn't move. "Why?" he asked. The boy stared at the box, his face suddenly pale. "Because my dad told me never to let anyone open one like that." A nervous laugh came from the table. Then Daniel noticed something strange. The boy wasn't looking at him. He was staring at the billionaire's private security chief, whose face had gone completely white. "Get that box away from him," the guard suddenly shouted. The room erupted in confusion. Daniel stepped back. "Why?" The security chief couldn't answer. And when the boy finally whispered what he had seen that morning, Daniel's expression changed completely. 1 hour earlier, the billionaire had believed he was celebrating the biggest deal of his life. Now he wasn't sure he'd survive the night. Before we uncover what was inside that box, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories, and share it with someone who believes courage can come from the most unexpected person. And tell us in the comments, which city and country are you watching from? The 2 security guards stopped halfway across the dining room. Daniel raised one hand. "Nobody touches the boy." The command surprised everyone. The child stood frozen near the doorway, his breathing uneven. He looked like he wanted to run, but something stronger was keeping him there. Daniel pointed toward the silver box. "Tell me exactly what you know." The boy swallowed. "My name is Eli. How old are you?" 12. "Why were you in my building?" Eli glanced toward the enormous windows overlooking the city. "My dad works downstairs. He fixes things." Daniel frowned. "Your father is one of the maintenance workers?" Eli nodded. "He told me to wait in the service hallway until his shift ended. But I heard people arguing, so I followed the voices." Daniel looked toward his security chief, Marcus Reed. Marcus immediately stepped forward. "Sir, this child shouldn't be anywhere near this room. We can handle this." Eli suddenly pointed at him. "He's the man I saw." The room went silent. Marcus's expression hardened. "Careful, kid." Eli took a step backward. "You were carrying that box." Daniel slowly turned toward Marcus. "You brought it here?" Marcus hesitated. "It was delivered with the other gifts." "By whom?" "I don't know. The concierge accepted it." Daniel looked back at Eli. "What did you see?" Eli's voice dropped. "Marcus took the box into the private office this morning." "He opened it." Marcus shook his head. "That's absurd," Eli continued. "There was something inside. A little black device." He touched it, then looked scared. He said, "This wasn't supposed to be here yet." A few guests exchanged worried glances. Marcus's jaw tightened. "You misunderstood." "No," Eli whispered. "I didn't." Daniel walked toward the table, but stopped several feet from the box. What happened next? Eli looked at the silver container. "My dad called me. He said I needed to leave the building immediately." "Why?" Eli's eyes filled with fear. "Because he heard Marcus talking to someone downstairs." Daniel's expression hardened. "What did they say?" Eli hesitated. "They said, once you open the box, the deal would be finished." The room fell, silent. Daniel's billion-dollar acquisition suddenly seemed far less important. He looked at Marcus. "You told me this was a gift?" "It is." "Then why is a 12-year-old afraid of it?" Marcus had no answer. Daniel reached for his phone, locked down the building. Marcus's eyes widened. But before anyone could move, Eli grabbed Daniel's sleeve. "Wait." Daniel looked down. The boy's voice trembled. "My dad said there's something else you need to—" "No." Eli stared at the silver box. "That isn't the dangerous part." Daniel's face went pale. "Then what is?" Eli pointed toward the dining room wall. "The cameras!" Daniel followed his gaze. 4 security cameras were mounted around the penthouse, each displaying a live feed on a monitor near the kitchen. But one screen was completely black. Marcus noticed it too. "That's a technical issue," he said. Quickly, Eli shook his head. "My dad said the cameras stopped working right after Marcus went." "Downstairs." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Marcus, give me your access card." The security chief didn't move. "Sir, you're making a serious mistake. Your card." Now. Slowly, Marcus reached into his jacket, But before he could hand it over, the elevator doors opened. Two men in maintenance uniforms stepped into the penthouse. Daniel's guests immediately backed away. "Who are they?" Daniel demanded. Marcus looked toward the men. For the first time, genuine fear crossed his face. Eli grabbed Daniel's hand. "Those aren't maintenance workers." The two men stopped. One of them reached inside his jacket. Security reacted instantly, forcing both men against the wall before they could move any farther. Daniel stared at Marcus. "Explain." Marcus said nothing. One of the guards searched the men and discovered several fake identification cards and a handwritten floor plan of the building. Daniel's face tightened. "How long has this been happening?" Marcus finally lowered his head. 3 weeks. The room erupted. Daniel stepped closer. 3 weeks. Marcus nodded. "I discovered someone was trying to breach your security system. I didn't know who was behind it. Then why hide it from me?" "Because I believed there was someone inside your company helping them." Daniel looked toward the silver box. "And that?" Marcus glanced at it. "That was supposed to prove who?" Eli suddenly spoke. "But you were scared when you opened it." Marcus looked at him. "I was." "Why?" Marcus hesitated. "Because the device inside wasn't from our security team." Daniel's voice became quiet. "What was it?" Marcus took a breath. "A tracking device." Everyone stared at the box. "It was designed to identify the location of whoever carried it," Marcus explained. "Someone wanted to know exactly where you were tonight." Daniel looked toward the doors. The room suddenly felt smaller. "Who sent it?" Marcus shook his head. "I don't know." Then Eli stepped forward. "My dad knows." Daniel turned. "How?" Eli reached into his worn backpack and pulled out a folded maintenance report. "My dad found this inside the service elevator yesterday." Daniel opened it. The report contained a list of employees with unusual access records. One name had been circled in red. Daniel's expression changed. He knew the name. It belonged to his own chief financial officer, and beneath it was a note that made Daniel's blood run cold. "Tonight, after the announcement, make sure Cross never signs the merger papers." Daniel read the note twice. Then he looked toward Marcus. "Call the police." Marcus immediately pulled out his phone. But before he could dial, Daniel's chief financial officer, Richard Cole, stepped into the dining room. "What exactly is going on?" Daniel turned toward him. Richard glanced at the two captured intruders, then at the silver box. His face remained calm, too calm. "You seem surprised," Daniel said. "I am." Daniel held up the maintenance report. Richard's eyes dropped to the circled name. For a fraction of a second, his expression cracked. Then he smiled. "That's ridiculous." Eli quietly stepped behind Daniel. Richard noticed. "Him! You!" The boy froze. "You're the one who caused all this." Daniel immediately stepped between them. "Don't speak to him." Richard's voice hardened. "You have no idea what you're doing, Daniel. That boy's father has been stealing company information for months." Eli's eyes widened. "That's a lie." Richard looked toward the guards. "Search the boy's backpack." Nobody moved. Daniel shook his head. "Enough." Then Marcus received a message on his phone. He read it and suddenly looked alarmed. "Sir, the police are on their way, but we have another problem." "What?" "The merger documents were accessed remotely 10 minutes ago." Daniel's stomach tightened. "The documents are in my office," Marcus nodded, "and someone is trying to transfer ownership of the company." Richard suddenly ran. 2 guards tackled him before he reached the hallway. The room exploded into chaos. As officers entered the penthouse, Daniel stood beside Eli, watching Richard being handcuffed. But the billionaire wasn't celebrating. He turned toward the boy. "Your father saved my company." Eli shook his head. "He just did his job." Daniel smiled. "Sadly, sometimes doing your job means having the courage to protect someone who may never know your name." An officer approached with an update. "We found evidence connecting Mr. Cole to the attempted takeover. He recruited the 2 men and disabled your security cameras." Daniel looked toward the silver box. "And the box?" The officer carefully examined it. It contained a tracker. If you had carried it into the merger meeting, they would have known exactly where you were. Daniel stared at Eli. How did you know not to let me touch it? Eli reached into his backpack and pulled out an old photograph. It showed his father standing beside Daniel years earlier. My dad used to work for you, Eli said. He said you gave him his first real job when nobody else would. Daniel stared at the photograph. He remembered. The man, a quiet maintenance worker who had once repaired a broken elevator during a crisis. Your father saved me before, Daniel whispered. Eli smiled. He said you saved him first. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. In one evening, the billionaire discovered that the people he barely noticed had been protecting everything he had built and the boy everyone thought didn't belong in the room had just become the reason Daniel was still standing in it. Weeks later, Daniel kept one thing from that frightening night on his office desk, the old photograph of Eli's father beside him. The attempted takeover was stopped. Richard was arrested, and the company launched a full investigation into its security failures. But Daniel cared about something far more important. He offered Eli's father a senior maintenance position and made sure Eli received a scholarship for his education. When Daniel asked why they had risked everything to protect him, Eli simply smiled. My dad said you once helped our family when nobody else would. Daniel looked at the boy and finally understood. Kindness doesn't disappear. Sometimes it travels quietly through years, waiting for the right moment to return. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes kindness always comes back, and subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories for more emotional stories. And tell us in the comments, which city and country are you watching from? Because sometimes the person who saves your life is the one you never thought important enough to notice.